in FSKM, but also for those who are outside, yang memang part 2, part yang kami tak panggil balik tetapi berada di sekitar ini, who wants to use the bilik kuliah for discussion room dan sebagainya, kita provide 3 bilik free flow. Free flow meaning that it's not, kita tak kunci. Okay, you can come and join, use the room, alright, dekat BK, dekat CS1 akan BK1 dan BK2. CS2, CS2 ni bilik dia baru, cantik, you can use it. Okay, dekat BK37. Nanti saya akan bagi notice sikit lah kepada coordinator, melalui coordinator, and also will send the notice to you guys in the groups later. Okay, so the room will open from 8 to 5. Alright, during weekdays only lah. During weekdays, kita sediakan hand sanitizer and so on. Nanti you all kena, tapi SOP please, tak ada siapa yang akan monitor you all di situ. So SOP tu kena jagalah sendiri, tanggungjawab sendiri. Alright, okay, so deals yang siapa perlukan transit, place to transit yang ada aircon, yang little bit what we call that, comfortable, okay, can use this room aside from laman Najib dan sebagainya. Okay, so without further delay, alright, for today we going to share. Okay, saya akan share dulu, but before that, boleh kita, somebody can recite the doa first? Anybody volunteer to recite the doa? Adib Zahir, baca doa Adib. Adib. Senyum senyum Adib. Okey. Di bulan puasa ni Dib. Baca doa penerang hati tu. Baca tu.
A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Al-Fatihah. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma ta'ala hamdaka wa naj'al ma zaina rahmatika rahman rahim rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri lisanni yafqahu qawli Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam. Amin ya rabbal.
Okay, amin ya rabbal alamin. Alright, thank you very much Dip. Okay, so I will start recording, right? And then I'm sharing my screen now, which basically, okay, we will look into the lesson plan, just 1 minute on this, 30 seconds on this, which I already informed you guys. Okay, you can see my screen now, right? I'm sharing with you the lesson plan and scheme of work for this semester. Okay, we are at week 2 already, right? So today we will cover chapter 2, which I already share with you. Chapter 2 in the U Future. Actually, the whole things of all the material are already been uploaded to U Future. You can refer that. Please download all those chapter 1 until chapter 11 together with the textbooks, the soft copy of the textbook, the assignment itself, and also the SOW. Okay, allocate one folder on your in your computer for this class. All right. So based on that, okay, what are the method we are using? Okay, for this, when I said flipped classroom, meaning that you will be given the material earlier. All right, please, okay, this one the duration 30 minutes, okay, maybe. All right, you read through, spend about 30 minutes to read through and make sure not only the slides, maybe read through if you not familiar, not understand at all some elements, read through also the textbook. If you have any questions, okay, you can ask during the class hour. Like what I mentioned, the class hour, maybe the flipped class session is 30 minutes, and during the class itself, whether it is online class or face-to-face, for your tutorial, okay, they will be only about 1.5 hours by right. By right, it is 1.5 hours. Okay, so total up your learning time will be 2 hours. We do not want you to spend too much time on the online class, right? Where you can read through. You are all part 6 students. You can read through, and maybe during this class can be a short discussions if you require that short discussion. Okay. Alright, otherwise saya biasanya akan explain je lah dalam slides tu. Whatever we have on the slides, but I encourage you guys to ask question if you have any other questions lah related to that. So in order to ask question, you need to read first. Okay, what is it and so on. So it is more on further clarification. Okay, so that is for today. We're going to do that. And maybe, okay, I need to stop sharing, stop presenting, and now I'm sharing with you guys again the slide itself. Okay, now can you see my screen? It is on the chapter 2, project methodologies and processes.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So if you for the Microsoft team, okay, normally I provide for this group for ISP640 lecture. I provide the link for the channel. Okay, channel tu lebih kurang je I provide channel tu every week punya channel. So I will provide the material for each chapters in this channel. So you can read through, tengoklah dekat channel tu, click channel and go for note. Okay, note, and you can download the slide there also. Right? Okay, but tak payah tunggu kat saya tu pun, macam saya cakap tadi, you can refer to the future and download everything there from there. Okay, so basically in chapter 1 you already learned what is project management. Okay, as what we mentioned, project management involve a project which involve methodology and process. Okay, in managing a project which can be last as short 6 months, it can last for 1 year, it can last for 3 years in fact. So all this, it is basically involve many people, many stakeholders, many users, many people, many resources and so on. Of course, it will involve, is quite complex, and you need a proper methodology, proper tools, proper process to guide you on how to manage the project management, right? So to manage the project through project management, be okay. So all of you must be need to be familiar, need to feel familiar, because this is methodology in chapter. You are all in part 6, all right? You know you have to come up with a chapter 3 of your FYP methodology. It provide for each objective of your research. You need to provide how to achieve that objective. Method apa yang awak pakai, siapa you want to interview, how you want to analyze for each objective. The same goes to this, right? In project management, there will involve a different phases of project. Okay, phase 1 development, phase 1 user requirement, phase 2 you want to come up with the analysis, phase 3 will be the programming, the development itself. So each one need to have a proper method, process and tools, right? So, and along that, there will be a project life cycle. Of course, as a project manager, kena faham. Okay, project management, they involve from the very beginning, in the middle, and also at the end. Alright, so beginning will be initiations, for example, planning. In the middle, you execute. Last, you will closing. Okay, so this flow is called project life cycle. And of course, in a project, when you want to come up with a project management, you need to understand what are the elements that you need to focus on each stage, which there are a proper guideline, proper methods, which is called body of knowledge, project management body of knowledge, which I explained to you guys. If you take a certification on project management, okay, so basically the question is about how the body of knowledge of the 10 PM book. All right. Okay, so the books that we are using currently also be based on this 10 project management book of knowledge. Okay, so body of knowledge. Only that dia tak namakan betul-betul lah. Ini PM book chapter 2, PM book on quality, chapter 3 on integration. Tak ada. Okay, the blend of all those will be from this 10 PM book actually. Right, so along that, in order to achieve that, okay, there are certain tools that can be used, which is called Prince tools. Some of the tools that can be proposed to be used, okay. And Prince tool ni mostly is about under the Agile method, right, which involve more on the people, the user itself. Later we will look into that later. Okay, based on core principle, process and teams, right? So when you develop, okay, when we have we are dealing with a project, ICT project management, all right, ICT project management, ICT based project management, where you are developing a software, we are developing the system, apps and so on. So memang ini kena familiar, all of you actually. Ini it should be at your fingertips. You should be able to explain what is system development life cycle. Okay, so this one under project life cycle, we will look into that later. Okay, under education, this is a specific method that you can use. Okay, under system development life cycle, the method, the technique used is under using waterfall method. And maybe another approach aside from system development Sdlc, you can use the agile approach. Agile approach is more working hand in hand with the user itself. It be more flexible, the agile. Okay, it is suitable for a medium and small project. Okay, normally medium ataupun yang tak betul-betul kompleks dan sebagainya. Selalu yang kompleks we are using Sdlc. Alright. So under agile approach, two commonly technique being used is a extreme programming and also Scrum. Okay, we look into that later. And last but not least, at the end of the chapter, you should be able to understand what is the learning cycle itself. And also lesson learned. What you mean by learning cycle? Okay, what are the lesson learned concept that been applied in project management, right? Okay, that one we will look into that later. Okay, so okay, what I want to emphasize here, okay, the project methodology itself, okay, basically, okay, it is when we do a project methodology, it is on a strategic level plan. You know what is a project is about. You already have a proposal. Okay, you have the idea. You put it in a proper planning. Okay, in a proper documentation, the problem statements. You already have the project objective, what you want to achieve, what you want to develop, right? And now you want to plan on how to achieve, like what I mentioned just now, to achieve all these objectives. So you start do a strategic, okay, you planning strategically. Okay, nak buat ni kita kena collect data, we have use this tool, we use a technique of interview and so on, right? So basically, project methodology is totally required because we want to manage and control the project from the very beginning until the end, right? So basically, it's closely related to the project and product life cycle, and it involves pieces, process, tools, and technique. Okay, what we want to use. Okay, for each phase, for each objective tadi yang saya cakap tadi tu. Alright. Okay, sekejap For each phase tu, apa benda yang nak pakai? Teknik apa? Objective 1, you want to require data. You want to enter, you want to get user requirement. Are you using a user story type of product of techniques or how? Okay. So all those need to be properly planned, and of course it must be flexible, meaning that if for example during the first stage you already in during the user planning part where you want to get the requirement of the user, the problem, you want to understand the problem. The first interviewee, you find it the way technique that you use, for example the questionnaire itself is not suitable to be used because they are top management. They do not want for you to write, to explain in writing. It might be used interview session or Delphi method, for example. Okay, yang you all datang, pergi balik datang dan sebagainya, that is a Delphi method. Okay, so you have to change accordingly. Right, you must be, meaning that must be flexible. Some people, some way, it can be the same project, the same kind of project, but you need to change accordingly based on the people that you are dealing with. Okay, and also involve best practices, meaning that you learn what are the others. Last semester, not last year, maybe you are developed about the same product. Okay, for the you develop the inventory system. Okay, currently you want to develop for the procurement system, for example. So it quite similar where it used for the administration. So we learned, okay, get a feedback from the previous project manager, for example. Okay, it can use a best practices, right? So in doing the methodology, basically you can use, the traditional method like what I mentioned, waterfall, or you can use the agile itself. Okay, extreme programming management, and also Scrum. Nanti kita akan tengok how it goes, how it look like for this one, right? So the project life cycle. Okay, we know for the methodology is the what to guide you on how to achieve the project objective. So before that, you need to understand first, when we talk about the project, alright, when we talk about the project, it involve, sekejap mana saya nak ni. Okay, pen dia. Yeah. Okay, where it involves the project, normally it can be the project life, the whole flow of the project from the very beginning until the end, until the project die, and then we need to come up with a new project. Maknanya the absolute the system that you develop. Now you want to need to develop a new system, for example. Okay, so it will from the very beginning until the end of the project. That is what is called project life cycle. So it can be a logical stages of phases, okay, that maps the life of project, and it start from here, okay, from the beginning, okay, from the beginning through the middle and the end. Beginning normally is a stage 1. Okay, beginning will be when you initial the idea. Middle will be education. End will be monitoring and what we call that closing, or it can be maintenance. Okay, so all this will involve in building, to define, build and deliver the product to the customer. That's what is the project life cycle is. Okay, kita akan tengok nanti how the project life cycle in a diagram, how it looks like when it comes to the link to the process of the project management. Okay, so it means just now project life cycle can be further divided into a different phases. Okay, so why it need to be divided into different phases? Because it's easy to monitor and each stage will be different. Even though, for example, for the planning stage, where it involves the collecting data for the user requirement, you do for the identifying the problem, you do the preliminary of the problems of the existing situation, then the output from this planning will be used for the output for the second stage, which is on the analysis itself. So each stages need to be further divided, because for each stage we will do the pace and review of key deliverables. Okay, for example, sometimes, okay, in the project plan, the product looks very good. Okay, when you in the documentation, it looks very promising. It is doable. It is can promise you to help the process of your current process into more efficient and effective way. However, when you come to the developments, during the interview also it looks good. When it comes to the development, you just find out that, for example, you want to come up with a ECRM, Electronic Customer Relationship Management, which the combination of all, you have many branches, macam UITM, ada banyak branches. Okay, yang mana before this the data are all in isolated places. Okay, branches 1 use their own data, branches 2 use their own method data, and so on. You want to come up with a one ECRM, Electronic Customer Relationship Management, where you want to put everything in one place. It's centralized. However, when you want to execute the project, you find out the data integration is very troublesome. Right? It cannot be done in 6 months, for example. It's so complex, for example. Right? And it's risky as well. So, when you do this stage for the development itself, you evaluate how the progress, and normally you will you as a project manager, you must present to the stakeholders when during the education, at the end of the education, when you want to design the system, you find out it will be troublesome. Okay, so you present to the stakeholders and present to them what are the limitations, the challenges that you are facing in integrating the data from all these branches, for example. Okay, then based on your output, normally the top management will make a decision. Okay, decision meaning that pace exit. Okay, mana you all berhenti sekejap, tengok sama ada nak teruskan atau you want to continue with certain option. Okay, so normally in a project management, that is how you will do the evaluation, the monitoring based on the different stages of your project. And this is very good, memang that need to be practiced. For every stage, you need to have an what we call that, the presentation with your sponsor, with your stakeholders, with your top management who own the project, right? So through that only dia akan effective lah. Katapun awak terus je no buat, okay, sometimes it's not worth of doing, and last akan jadi gajah putih the project. Okay, we do not want that to happen. So it need to be properly planned. And in dividing this through several stages, it's called stage gates as well. Meaning that setiap satu ada gate dia. Before you go to another gate, kena ada kunci, kunci ni kena buka, meaning that kena explain before you are allowed to go to the second stages. In project management, how to monitor the progress, they further divide into a different stages, which is called stage gates, and these stage gates will have a phase exit, whether to proceed or not to proceed. Alright, and some, if the project currently, like what I mentioned, is not worth completing based on the current state, sometimes we will have a kill points. Okay, kill points meaning that the stakeholder decide to stop the project, to postpone the project, for example. Okay, or it may be restarted, buat balik lah dengan certain requirement. Okay, but with a different criteria. Maybe you can do it, for example, or it is not worth if we develop in-house. We just find out that we are not expert in this. Okay, so why not we outsource this project to others? Okay, meaning that you can, during this project, you can kill points whether to stop and outsource to other people, or you can postpone the project for a based on the certain times, right? So that is a project pieces. Any questions so far? Any questions?
No,
Saya
Doktor.
on tak video saya? Ni siapa Adib siapa ni? Saya on ke video saya?
On, Doktor. Nampak, Doktor.
Oh, okey, baru on tadi tak
Tak.
Oh, okey. Alright, cikgu biasanya dia kena buka sebenarnya. Alright. Okay, and that's project pieces. Okay, this is a fast tracking. Alright, okay. In a project pieces also there are stage which aside from you want to exit phase and so on, you can also allow to fast tracking. This is especially true if the project, okay, if the project less risk, okay, less risk, or when the risk is acceptable, meaning that you are familiar with that kind of project. For example, fast tracking, okay, you do not have to wait for all the user requirement be collected, then only you want to do the analysis, right? You can do it concurrently. For example, when halfway through of the project data collections, you already completed half, and then now you want to move it to another project to do the analysis. You are familiar with that, no problem. The stage is not that critical, right? Then you can proceed. That is a fast tracking. Do two things together at the same time. But if the task is risky, for example, you want to develop the project, you do all those. You want to test you want to provide to run the test, okay, on that system. For example, you want to do the usability test and so on before you launch. Okay, so meaning that kena completekan the whole thing first, then only you can run all the required tests. If not, you will run a specific halfway through sahaja. Okay, so system with a proper testing is very risky, especially when it involve when you want to pakai bukan pilot project, is one way, apa tu, terus saja guna. For example, the system online banking, for example, sometimes it's very critical, right? So the testing is very important. It can't be fast tracking, right? Depends on how you can negotiate with the risk along with that task actually. Right. Okay, so basically in a project life cycle, okay, there are 5 stages of the project life cycle. One is to define project goals. This is the first, okay, normally, okay, and then this is a project plan, and you want to execute the project, this is when you come up with the implementation. You close the project and you evaluate the project, right? So why I'm putting in the boxes here, alright, for this, okay. Boxes ni sebab dia adalah, this is what you will need to develop for your group project, which you come up with the project proposal, okay, 10%. This is where you got the idea, alright, you want to put in a proper in writing, and then your lecturer, Puan Farah, for example, will go through whether this is a good project or not, for example, right? So whether it is known as a project or not, suitable to be done or not, something like that, right? Then for that, refer to my instruction of the assignment, right? For the project proposal, you need to come up, if I'm not mistaken, about 8 items. Okay, for example, the product functionality, the description of the problem, the budget itself, and also the explanation on the team members' roles and so on. Those are in the project proposal here, right? So when you get a feedback, whether you need to proceed or not, you need to have make a necessary correction and combine it in a project plan here. Ini dua documentation. Sebenarnya the whole thing is a good project, only that we divide into 2. So later for the project plan, you combine those, right? So in the group project, you only stop in that. Education, you do not have to develop the project, okay? Only that, a student keep asking me this, only that you need to come up with a storyboard. What the project is, for example, okay, how the page 1 will look like, page 2 will look like, how the page 3 will look like, but it does not necessary to be functions. Okay, dia memang tak function lah, tak perlu buat sampai function, only a descriptions to show how the system will look like. Right, so that is a project plan. Okay, so basically these are the other 2 slides is about the definition of the project life cycle, which we want to know that the business value, this is very important. I already explained to you, you will listen to this again in chapter 3 later, which it is about measurable organizational value, the MOV. Okay, the MOV meaning that when you want to develop a project, need to have value in terms of whether to make the process more effective, to make the process more efficient, it can give a profit to your business more, right? For example, aside just to have the physical, you need to have the online e-commerce project as well. So by having this online e-commerce, you'll be able to come up with more money for to generate more income for your business. Okay, so you do not have to just depends on the physical where it is very limited. Okay, in the local area only, where when you have an e-commerce, it's going to be a borderless. Okay, you can reach overseas and so on. Okay, so define project goal, make sure you have that, okay, during that stage, and make sure it's a clear focus and drive to the other pieces, meaning that okay, mesti faham apa yang nak dicapai, okay, and what you want to get, how much money, who you want to involve, okay, who will be your team member, what is their expertise, okay, and how long the project is. That is what the project proposal is, the one that I mentioned just now, requirement nombor 1 sampai nombor 8. Inilah dia, nombor 1 sampai nombor 8. Right? So the project plan is more detailed with the combination of the proposal here. You put it all, combine it, where you come up, this is where you will detail out how to achieve whatever objective that you already put in your project proposal here. So how to control the resources, how to monitor, okay, how to communicate. You can need to come up with the communication plan, the project quality plan, where else, the resource management, all that kind of things. Okay, that is the project plan. Okay, the two will be closely related with your group project. Okay, and another 3 stages, alright. So dia adalah macam saya cakap, dia execute. Okay, this is the you do the kick off of the project, right? Where for this one, whatever project scope, schedule, budget, okay, budget and people that you already listed, alright. Now you want to make sure it will be used according to the plan. For example, you said that you want to develop again to have the user requirement. User requirement in week 1 to week 2. So how much the budget? Who will be involved? So after you have the user requirement, you will do the analysis. Analysis will be in week 3 until week 4. Okay, here what are the budget and so on. So a good project manager normally dia akan buat what we call that a progress report for month 1. Okay, month 1, how much they already covered, how much budget that you already used, and what are the output. Supposedly at the end of the month 1, there should be an report on the analysis of the user requirement. Tapi kadang-kadang terdelay. Data collection pun tak habis lagi. Alright, so which you plan month 1, you can analyze the data until finish. Tapi tak buat pun, separuh saja. Now you already know it will be behind schedule. You already spend a lot of budget, tapi behind schedule, and in order to make sure it will align what are the plan to reach the goals, maknanya nak complete within 6 months, you need to do the plan, the other plan. What are your backup plan for that? Right? So progress must be documented and must be compared to the baseline plan. Baseline plan ni your project documentation itself. Okay, so you know we are already in month 1. Betul tak apa yang di plan dekat project plan just now? So make comparison, and if it is far what we call that behind schedule, for example, kena buat balik lah how. Alright, and this project performance must be communicated, meaning that through presentation, to documentation sharing and so on. Okay, and also close, of course, close the project is completed, and then you will come up with a project report and presentation. You will do the post-mortem review. Okay, towards the end, okay, you know that you already behind schedule during the month 1. Okay, whether now during the original plan, which you want to finish the project in 6 months. Okay, during the post-mortem review, you see again whether it is according to the plan or not. Dekat project report ni kena mention, kalau behind schedule, over budget and so on, kena masuk dalam post-mortem review. Alright, what are the weaknesses, what are the challenges? And with that, later that one will be used as a lesson plan and best practices for your team or for the future team to be used within the organization. Right? So that's why project management nampak leceh, nampak ni, tapi it is a success to a good project actually. to the completion of the project. Right? Okay, any questions so far? Okay, untuk hari ni je saya dah repeat 2 kali. So, bila kelas petang-petang ni, the challenges is there lah. Okay, so if I halfway through, saya buat pendek dan sebagainya, you are not the explanation is not so clear, lagi-lagilah petang seperti ini, bulan puasa, okay, I might miss some of the point here. Okay, so interrupt my lecture if you need any further clarification and so on. So this is the PM book, the 10 project management knowledge areas. So we're going to look into that, this one. Only that I want to show to you, to emphasize on you what this diagram represent. Nampak ni bulat-bulat kat sini, ni ada ni intersection, all this intersection and this knowledge area are all intersect with each other. This one, bunga-bunga ni macam bunga matahari pula saya dah draw ni. Alright, okay. So all this intersection meaning that in project management it is all linked together. Memang you cannot separate it. Okay. Cost is closely related with time and of course related with the scope. Okay, if the scope increase, the time also need to be increased. The cost, the budget that you allocate also need to be increased. And also, when you increase the scope, of course, it related to the project risk as well. And when do you make changes in any requirement of the system scope, kena ada communication. So all these are integrated with each other. All this together, yeah, project stakeholders. That's why dia adalah ni project integration management. Okay, project integration management, it link all these 10 PM book, right? So basically, okay, this is how it link together. Okay, ini contoh dia, project integration management is the integration of the whole thing, number 2, number 3, 4, 5, 6 until 10. It will integrate. Project scope. Okay, project scope is like what I mentioned. What are the area that the functionality? It can be for the functionality of the system that you want to develop. Okay, so what are the boundary outside that scope? Okay, the system, the functionality is like this. The user is within this. But how it relate to the outside organization, outside the departments that the main user of that departments, for example. Okay, sales department want to use the e-commerce. Okay, so how it relate with the other department. Okay, itu kena make it clear in a project scope management. Okay, time, how duration. Okay, you know that I did mention just now, in a project management, it will be divided into different paces. Okay, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. So each phase will have their own output. Okay, user analysis, design of the system, the programming part, the prototype is considered as an output. Alright. So how the scope link to the time management for each task, for example, and how much cost. In terms of the cost, you are not only calculating the budget, but you are calculating the NPV, net present value, the return of revenue, okay, the payback period. All those will be calculated under project management. And in order to ensure, of course, this is very important. The first thing that the purpose of having the project, of course, we want to make sure that it provide value to the user. In providing the value, the product must be in good quality, okay, fulfill the requirements, and the whole thing of the project itself here mesti in how you manage the people, how you manage the cost, the budget, how you manage the time, it need to be based on the quality principle. And of course, they are dealing with the, human resource, the people involved. Communication is very important. What is the communication plan? Okay, what are the how you want to present, how you want to monitor the progress of each stage or each phase that will be done in a communication management. And of course, risk. When you dealing with the project itself is a risk. Under the higher the budget will be, the more risk the project is actually. So how to do the risk, you need to how to manage the risk. Project manager kena carefully, kena tahu how to prioritize. Kita tak boleh solvekan semua problem, right? We cannot solve all the risk in the ni. Okay, sebab terlalu macam banyak risk of people not accepting, risk of the system not functioning, risk of your manager fall sick, risk of your team member will leave the project. Okay, so you as a project manager and a team need to evaluate the risk through the using of each tools. For example, different tools which we will learn later. Okay, how to procurement, ini akan belajar dekat chapter 3, chapter 4. When you want to get people, whether procurement is through outsourcing, some of the service in project in the project development itself, you might need to outsource, right? How to outsource, what are the procurement process that will be learned in the project procurement management knowledge area. And last but not least is the stakeholders management. Stakeholders is people, a group of people who have an interest in your project. Okay, there's of course, for example, the sponsor mesti ada interest. Okay, the user might need to have the interest. The financial department need to have the interest in your project as well. Okay, normally the higher their interest is, the risky the stronger their influence to the success of the project. For example, project sponsor, if they are not happy, dia ada power untuk stopkan the project. Kebel-kebel lah awak dengan team member, tak boleh completekan project. It's quite frustrated if that happen, right? Okay, that is the 10 project management knowledge areas. Any questions so far? Izzat, how are you doing, Izzat? Izzat Asmaun Muhammad Izzat. Is Izzat here? Ada ke? Adib, kawan awak ke Adib, Izzat ni?
Ya, kawan saya.
Dia dah pergi pasal Ramadan ke tu?
Itu saya tak pasti. Tapi dia ada je dalam meeting ni.
Yeah. Mesti tidur
mungkin
tu.
mic tak betul kot. Mic
Okay, backup bagusnya Adib. Okay.
Ada madam.
Ada Izzat.
Ya saya madam.
Mana? Dia jawab ke tu? I cannot
Ya
see.
saya.
Okay. How are you doing, Izzat?
Ya, good. So far so good.
Okay. So far so good. Puasa hari ni? Lagi
puasa.
pun tanya.
Alhamdulillah, tak. Ni saya gila.
Yeah, okay. Alright. So, awak, where are you now, Izzat?
At the college.
At college, yeah. So, do you have any questions so far? Are you familiar with the what we call that the 10 project management knowledge area? Have you heard about this before? Izzat, pernah dengar ke sebelum saya mention dalam kelas hari ni?
Belum. Sebelum Dr. mention tak pernah dengar lagi.
Minggu lepas saya mention? Tak dengar? Ada?
Saya lepas pandang tu.
Okay, tapi minggu lepas I just mentioned about there are 10 project management areas, but we didn't go in detail. Okay, this one is go in detail lah. Nasib baik ada ni juga. Saya tak cover lagi, tapi tak, kalau supposedly pernah dengar lah CP, tapi explanation tu belum lagi. Hari ini sajalah. Right? Okay,
Betul,
Izzat nanti later baca ya Izzat in chapter 2. Okay. Alright, can we just continue? Okay, the project management process group. Okay, so this is where this one is the project management process group. Okay, when we, like what I mentioned, project management involve project management itself is a process, of course, right? So when is process, dia adalah terlibat dalam beberapa stages: initiation, planning, executing, controlling, and last but not least, closing. Alright, so basically if you notice, alright, it is quite similar to the term use. Okay, the term use is quite similar with the project life cycle. Only that maybe controlling. Dekat project life cycle dia tak ada controlling. Dekat project management process, control is important. Okay, which we want to monitor whether the project progress. If you didn't monitor, later nanti towards the end, then only you know that most of your project, you didn't cover most of the project requirements. Okay, at the end of the day, then only you know that you are behind schedule. The end of the day, dah habis tempo, then only you know that the budget is not, you are over budget. Alright, so it is very important to really look into the project process management group. Basically about the same, only that maybe controlling ni they are focusing more, right? So in here, when the project management life cycle ni, this is related macam ni, related to the project life cycle itself, right? So under project life cycle, where we are at the initialize akan ada proses yang sama. Under develop, project charter and project plan, you will go through the same process. Under education, dalam education, when you want to develop the project, you will still go the education. Mula-mula kita nak develop ni. Okay, kita nak we want to do the programming part. We already know the requirement, we already know the analysis of the we do the analysis now. Now we want to start develop. When you want to start develop, of course you need to call all your team member, your programming, your data analyst, your system analyst, data administrator to be in a group, to get together and initiate, planning, execute, controlling, closing. Where the closing, you will move to the stage. That what it means by all these stages of your project life cycle will go through the same project management process, right? So dia akan iteration, the process is there, dan memang kena berlaku lah. Mesti apa-apa whatever we do, even though it is closing, you want to hand over the project to the customer, you need to initiate. Macam mana kita nak hand over ni? How we want to make sure that it will smooth sailing process when you want to hand over. Make sure the customer understand how to use it. Whether the user understand how to know how to of course lah, to use and to understand the purpose of having the project at the first place, right? So that is the project management process group that relate to the each project life cycle, right? So ini yang saya cakap tu, okay? So that the project management, the project management process itself, in executing the project, during in managing the project, all those project life cycle, okay, instead bukan sahaja tertakluk kepada just now the project management process, but also there are certain technique that you can use here, right? There are certain, if you are using Prince2, which means the project in control environment, okay, there are 7 processes. Dia elaborate more. Instead of project life cycle tadi dia ada 5 kan. Tapi if you are using a technique of Prince2 in managing your project, they elaborate more on here. Okay, they elaborate more on this part. Okay, manage product delivery and manage stage boundary. Because in a project management, okay, if you are using Prince2, they are focusing more on the user itself. Okay, actually semua pun focusing more on user, tapi dekat kalau you use a project Prince2, from the very beginning they already emphasize that. Maknanya dalam principle, dalam you things to do, customer will be involved from the very beginning, right? So basically in guided the whole process, all this, okay, they apply certain themes tema. For example, they use business case approach, meaning that they look the problem as a business case. Okay, they really study about what the problem that you want to solve, to make sure that you solve the right problem. Okay, you know there is something wrong with the inventory. Okay, the inventory are overloaded, you cannot monitor what the customer wants and so on. So whether having the inventory system is a solution to that. So before they provide you with the solution, they come up with the business case. Alright, and then they organize it in a proper way. Okay, the organization of the documentation, the organization of the output and so on. And also they relate with the organization as a whole, right? How you manage the people, how you manage the project, the governance of the project management itself, right? And then they pay particular attention to the risk, of course, to the quality, planning, if there is any changes, alright, needed, okay, if there is any changes needed, they will do a proper follow-up on the changes and make sure the changes are communicated effectively and efficiently with the other stakeholders. Okay, jangan changes tu dekat project manager je. Lepas tu when you want to execute, you didn't mention in your with your programmers. Later when the system develop, tahu tak ada the functionality, for example, and you need to go back to the previous stage to redo and so on. So in Prince2, they want to avoid that. Okay, and also of course, okay, this is also common to I keep repeating this, to know the monitoring of the progress. So this one mostly are compulsory to all project. All right, so principle, how they apply that, how they do it. Okay, it can be based on the business case driven. Right, business case driven lah, based on the project, the problem itself, and it will be a product focus. Okay, we know that at the end of the day, the product need to be fulfill the requirement of the people. That is their main focus. And also lesson learned, meaning that they don't want to repeat any weaknesses, any things that you miss out in the previous stage. So every time when the system from the 6 months, you do a lesson learned approach. Jangan buat lagi. Keep emphasizing it in order to avoid that to be repeat. Okay, so a communication need to be done in a timely manner. Okay, so manage the stage, all those stages, adapt to the project. Okay, meaning that you blend, you understand what the project is. Everybody towards the same direction. Manage by exception, meaning that you give a freedom to your sub worker to make decision, for example. right? So accountability, okay, accountability is the responsibility. Okay, how to make sure that everybody responsible with what they are supposed to do. If everybody commit, then inshallah the project will be managed perfectly and be successfully finished on time within the certain budget, for example. Right? Okay, so that's basically what are the 7 process of the Prince2. Okay, any questions so far? Shazwani, Shamsul Bahari, do you have any question?
No.
Alright. Okay, Shazwani, hari ni nak buka apa Shazwani?
Saya tak fikir lagi.
Okay, bagus. Alright, tengah belajar kan, mana boleh fikir lagi kan. Alright, okay, good. Okay, after this, saya akan ambilkan cepat ni. Nanti bolehlah plan untuk pergi beli kat mana ke, kat Shopee ke, kat mana and so on. Where are you now, Shazwani?
College.
Okay, alright. Okay, so basically this is what the Prince2 already explained a little bit on what are the team and also the principle and how it connect to the processes, the project lifecycle process. Okay, so yes.
Teams tu dia ada sepanjang proses ya?
Dia sepanjang proses. Meaning that these two, principle and team and principle are guided, okay, throughout the process. Dia macam sepanjang tu memang pakai Prince2 punya system. For example, Prince2 dia ada method are using Prince2 principles. Right? Okay. So just to name a few, there are many other ways also in doing it. Only that the Prince2 are emphasized, this one is a good project management practice, that universal guidance for all project. Right? So if you are using the management in the organization are using Prince2, memang they should be familiar lah, memang apa-apa approach they are using are focusing on business case driven, mostly in product focus. You know what are what your guidelines is, okay, all those things lah. Yeah. Tapi sekejap mana tadi tu Prince2 ada lagi tadi, saya lupa cakap. That one later lah. Alright. So that one is Agile. Lebih kurang lah dengan Prince2 juga, which is more on the working product. Alright. Okay. So this is another way of using it. Okay, this is another approach, which is a system development life cycle. Okay, which just now is about the project management itself as a process. So this one is more on the development of the system. Okay, as graduates from a faculty science computer, alright, this one like what I mentioned should be at your fingertips. Okay, apa benda planning, system development, Sdlc, analysis, what are the component under design, what method under implementation when you want to deploy that, and what are the maintenance and support that need to be prepared, okay, in order to know that the product is what the user needs. Okay, maybe some of the testing need to be done here, some of the testing need to be done here. Okay, so that is what system development life cycle is. It is in a cycle lah. Okay, so project life cycle, there are 5 stages, and of course they are using the execution of the project itself. Like what I mentioned, your project management, your group project is basically in these 2 stages. During the execution, when you actually want to develop, no, that is a different stage, orang lain yang akan buat. Ini masa your FYP, for example. Okay, so for your final year project, of course, it involves the whole process. Okay, and then it will close the project when you hand over, tapi evaluate the project tu tak adalah biasanya. You kat sini je selalunya. You design, you implement, you do the maintenance and support. Close project, we can assume that when you submit the project. Evaluate, this is when you actually deploy the system in a real environment. Okay, so how you want to implement the SDLC, define all the sub-pieces and deliverables associated with the execution and control the project management lifecycle. How to implement SDLC, system development lifecycle, there are two approaches. Where you want to use a waterfall, okay, normally waterfall is like what I mentioned, involve a project that big scale project. Agile may be small and medium scale project, right? For example, when you want to do the waterfall model, it depends on the sequential. Okay, can I have somebody to read for me for this one? Okay, Dia, are you there, Dia? Nur Dia Badria.
Saya, madam.
Okay. Bagus, semangat dia. Dia kat mana? Where are you now, Dia?
Dekat college.
Alright. Melati
Yeah.
Okay, who's your roommate? Is it the same in the same class with you?
Yes, madam.
Siapa roommate awak tu kat sebelah awak tu?
Nur Syuhada.
Okay. Dia Nur Syuhada Zainal Syuhada,
Yeah.
Syuhada. Dia ke komputer lain
Komputer lain, madam.
Okay. Are you in the same room actually?
Yes.
Okay. Only that satu volume je lah buka ya. Alright. Okay. So okay. Dia, can you read for us? One phase need to completed.
Okay. One phase need to complete it before the next phase can start. Although iteration is allowed where the developers can go back to a previous stage, it is not always easy or desirable. Time and effort is spent in the early phases to get the requirements and design correct because it's more expensive to add a missing requirement in the later phases of the project.
Alright. Okay. Thank you very much. So like what it mentioned, waterfall. Waterfall ni air turun satu stage senang je kan? Satu stage slow je, flow okey je. Tapi bila naik balik, kalau nak naik balik daripada here maintenance until define requirements atau maintenance nak pergi balik kepada test, ataupun bila test you test is not proper, when you do the testing it's not fulfill the requirement, so you need to redesign the system. Bila nak pergi patah balik, if you bayangkan the process of waterfall itself, nak air tu turun, dia akan pergi ke penguapan punya sistem, pergi jadi air jadi pada uap balik, membentuk awan dan sebagainya. It's very time consuming. Alright, so waterfall, like what the name again, it is need to be completed before the next phase can start. Okay, iteration is allowed but it's not always desirable. Maknanya betul-betul kena tengok betul tak design ni. It is correct, you need to verify, you need to validate, do the validation, do the verification for each stage of this. Setiap stage ni kena verify balik. When you want to build, pergi jumpa, build, verify and so on. Then only you can go to the next stage and so on. Right? Because waterfall, like what we mean, right, is more expensive to add missing requirement. Sebab dia akan settlekan satu stage to another stage. Alright? So compared to the Agile, you are work hand in hand. Satu group. Normally your user, the people, the programmer, all in one group. Alright? So dia condenses the SDLC, still use the SDLC, but use the iteration, okay, in one stage. Dia memang setiap stage tu pun you can iterate. Buat bagi you already interview, boleh interview lagi sekali, for example, to make a clarification. You dah interview one person, okay, go again, and when you want to develop, for example, develop and you are not sure, you develop prototype 2 point, when you want to come up with prototype version 1, you go see your user. If they are not happy, you repeat, you make a enhancement on your prototype version 1. So you work together very closely with each other. Alright, so really heavily rely on face-to-face communication and use, for example, Scrum or XP programming. Okay, we will look into what is the Scrum and XP programming later, right? And you can refer to the book itself. Okay, the Agile Manifesto, what are the Agile principle? Okay, the Agile principle, we are uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others do it. Through this work, we have come to value, okay, meaning that they develop software by helping each others. So in Agile method, I want to emphasize on this. There is value in the items on the right. The right is this. We value the item on the left more. Ini. Walaupun, for example, individual and interaction. Individual and interaction. For example, individual and interaction, they value more compared to the process and tools. Okay, in Agile, they are focusing more on the communication, and they are focusing on the working software. Documentation is necessary. Still, they need to have a SRR, SDD, and so on. But the output will be a working software that fulfills the needs of the user. And they are focusing on the customer collaboration. That's why the user will be in the same team. And they respond to change over following a plan. If there is a need to more to add, to elaborate, to add, to use another approach to change a little bit on the scope, okay, they can adapt very quickly, right, compared to the waterfall and so on, because they work in a small group, or actually, right? So so this one is what they emphasize more: customer, product, project team, and performance. Okay, all right. So just a few slides more. Agile method, sebenarnya kan saya duduk seorang-seorang je dekat office ni. I'm in my office now at HEA, Hal Ehwal Academic. Memang semua, everybody already left the office lah. Okay. Anyway, no problem. Memang saya selalu balik lambat pun. Kadang-kadang pukul 7. Bulan puasa ni lah kena balik awal sikit actually. Alright, okay. On the Agile method, extreme programming and Scrum. Okay, this is a technique used. Okay, extreme programming meaning that you in a team, you work closely. Programmers, first programmers, second programmers, system analysts, you work closely with each other. Kalau dulu programmer seorang-seorang dia akan isolated, dia buat dia punya program dulu, dia buat coding and so on. Now programmers need to talk a lot as well to participate in a communication and so on. Tak boleh nerd, be able to explain and also to explore and all those things. Okay, so these are methods for project management that are becoming increasingly popular. Okay, what the extreme programming is, where the user requirement first documented as user story, meaning that the programmers, they participate in the early stage using the user requirement, not only during the education. Masa planning tu, Okay, you get the user, you get the analysis and so on. They already involved in the from the beginning. So first of all, the most important, everybody need to understand what requirement of that system is. Put it in a user story, for example. This is one method on in getting requirements, and put it in a object-oriented call class diagram, and put it in a series, in a version of release called releases. So first user requirement maybe in terms of the storyboard one. User requirement in terms of the reporting is one. It will come up with a from one class diagram and come up with a in a different version, separate version. Bukan sampai ujung, maknanya memang all those who ever develop the system need to really understand what are the things from that release. Then you need to proceed with the project development and so on. Okay, so Scrum, they are more emphasized on the roles. Okay, in the project execution itself, okay, they have the Scrum Master, which is related to the project, closely related to the project managers. Okay, during the execution stage, there are the sub managers who manage all these system developers. Okay, which they also the project the Scrum Master will look into the product owners. Okay, make sure it will the user itself will be in, alright, to represent the business side. They are looking on the functionality of the system, not on the technical part. And of course, the development team, the development itself, for delivering like what the programmers, analysts, and also database administrator, the what others, right? The cloud monitors, peoples, and so on, the technology parts, and will be part on the development team, right? So those, and it prioritize features that need to be developed and delivered. And normally they have a short stand-up meeting. Early in the morning, everybody, with all these people, will get together and have a review of what happening yesterday and what need to be done for today. For example, it's more on the progress, a short progress discussion of the project. Right? Okay, any questions? Just a few more, right? So a learning cycle, okay, this is related to what the learning process of the people. Okay, I keep emphasizing here, every members in a team, they have a different what we call that a different capability in understanding, and they have a different strength. They have weaknesses, but they have a strength. That's why you put them in a team. Okay, so one person are very good in a programming, one person can good from the very good in a business perspective, one person is good in managing the project. Okay, so using this capability and your expertise and your skill, okay, you should be able to, okay, get together and understand throughout, put together the project in a, for example, work together in 6 months, right? So when you be together in a team, make sure you should be able to understand and frame the problem. Everybody need to be able to look at the system, to look at the project, and be able to think the same way. Sebenarnya project ni pasal apa? What you want to solve? What the objective? What the functionality should be look like? Okay, and involve in the planning of the project. Based on this, when you understand, the faster you understand, the faster you can done for your task itself. Because every team member will be given an individual task, and of course that individual task will relate with the other team member task, right? So you'll be able to plan accordingly and act. You as a programmer, how you want to act? Okay, you want to know that the project should be able to capture the customer communication through all channels. So how you want the system should be able to be developed to that functionality, right? So you need to act. And also last, you need to reflect and learn, right? Should be able to understand, okay? And towards the end of the project, okay, how we want to, it's not only towards the end of the project, it can be at the end of the day. Okay, what are the things that we missed today? Okay, if you are do great in today's task, okay, how you reflect that in your project, in your task, and also how you support other people as well. Okay, so kalau nak berjaya in a team, you help each other, right? So an example of team learning record, okay, in doing that, for example, for the stage 1 here, understand and frame the problem. Okay, normally to help each other because maybe there are 5 of you. Okay, we want to know to make sure that everybody have the same understanding of a situation or the project. Okay, so you need to really identify what we know, facts. Okay, what are the problem currently? Company has too much inventory on hand. How much is too much? Cost of maintaining of current inventory is becoming prohibitive. Maknanya jadi bertambah susah nak maintain the cost. Alright, so how much cost is actually involved? Alright, inventory turnover needs to be increased, meaning that you need to replenish your stock. How fast the stock replenishments can be done, for example, right? So how fast you are talking about? Okay, all this needs to be supported by facts, right? So if then what we think we know, you make some assumption. It may be an efficiency problem. It can be the information system. Due to that, you think that the information system will improve the efficiency, right? So with that information, okay, now you know this is your solution. Okay, everybody dah brainstorm, dah put together, dah understand, dah get all the facts and figures. Now you want to get what are the inventory level, why it is so high, get the reason, what it should be, the appropriate one, what are the desired level of inventory. Okay, these need to be done stage by stage, step by step, step by steps. Okay, so this one, the table matrix here is a process to understand and frame the problem. So through this term, your team recordkan. You buat, memang awak akan buat, of course, lots of discussion and so on, but need to be recorded. The answer here, this is brainstorming process. The answer need to be recorded in a different table. Okay, so this is a starting point of the stage 1, for example. Right? So based on that, then you come up with the action plan. Okay, what are the people, what you want to do. Okay, to understand the problem, ask everyone in your team to do all those based on their expertise to get more data regarding the project. By when? Okay, so it will be, you set the time and so on, right? So this is what the project is. In order to understand about the project, you briefly get together and put it in a sketch, in a table like this. Okay, based on this, if you have a proper action plan, then you convert it in a proposal or in a project plan, like what you need to complete in your group project, for example. Yeah, okay. Okay, And the team life cycle, this is about the for each stage. Project life cycle just now is not only involve the project process management for each project life cycle. Along the way also the people that you are dealing with, okay, have a learning cycle also. Learning cycle yang macam tadi itulah, right? Understand the problem, you plan, you act, you reflect for each stage. Okay, so for each stage, hopefully throughout the stage, masa dekat this one is week 1, month 1. This one is month 1. Month 3, you getting better. You get faster in learning. Month 5, the last month of the project, you getting faster and faster of the learning process. But still, you will learn. Okay, this one, inilah yang kita cakap, kita dalam hidup, we are not stop learning. Every day is a new process. It's just like you need to be able to reflect whatever problems happen today will be a reflection for yourself, for you to prepare to have a better tomorrow. Okay, so that is what the learning cycle is about. Okay, jangan buat bodoh-bodoh je tak faham, ni buat-buat aja. Thing happen today, hari ni you have a argument with your friends, so maaf, but tomorrow, okay, you need to avoid that. What you learn from your argument yesterday, for example, right? So itu yang perlulah toward a positive life. Yeah. Okay, so last but not least is the team learning. Okay, how speed, how fast is it, how depth, the understanding, the impact to the developments of you yourself as a person, right, will be put together in a team learning. Alright, alright, okay, thank you Prof. Okay, bye. Okay, Prof Dekan pun dah mengucapkan bye kepada saya. Alright, semua dah balik. I'm the last person here in fakulti lah normally. Okay, so rasanya lah selalunya pensyarah dah balik dah waktu sekarang. Okay, so this is based on the team learning. Okay, as a team member, you should be able to help each other lah, as of course as a project manager as well. Okay, kena towards the not only you develop the system, but you develop the people under you as well. Alright, so that's what about the project methodologies and also process. Is there any questions? Tak ada? As usual, no questions?
No.
Tak ada, as usual lah, ya. Alright, okay, but next week nanti saya kena tanya soalan sikit-sikit ni pada you all ni. Okay, to make sure that you read through first and so on. Okay, so with that, I end my recording. Alright, and I stop recording. And to all of you, selamat berbuka, take a good care of yourself. And semoga hari Ramadan